In this video presentation, we will be exploring federal funding, the money that funds the Department of Defense, the Navy, and NAVAIR programs. Funding is provided by appropriations. Each year, Congress must appropriate funding by the 1st of October. What happens if Congress doesn't meet that October 1st deadline? Well, DoD still needs congressional authority to spend federal funds, so Congress must provide a continuing resolution, also called a CR, until the appropriation bills are signed. There are currently 12 appropriation acts that Congress must enact each year. For the Department of Defense, the three major appropriation bills are the DoD Appropriations Act, the MILCON Act, and the Energy and Water Development Act, which funds the Army Corps of Engineers. We'll be focusing on the DoD Appropriations and MILCON Acts. What is an appropriation? An appropriation is an act of Congress that gives federal agencies the authority to spend federal funds that will be paid from the U.S. Treasury. In an appropriation act, Congress specifies the purpose of a particular appropriation and the amount of budget authority for that appropriation. Budget authority is only made available as a part of the Annual Appropriation Act, which is why it is called discretionary budget authority. An appropriation provides budget authority that is only in effect for the year enacted. Remember, an appropriation gives the dollars to execute. Federal money is bucketed into different appropriations, with each appropriation having its own purpose, time limitation, and other unique characteristics. That's why you sometimes hear appropriations called colors of money. Our focus today is on the purpose of each appropriation. In other words, what can you buy with a particular appropriation? The name of the appropriation gives you a pretty good idea of what it can fund. There are 5 major appropriation categories. They are research, development, test and evaluation, procurement, operations and maintenance, military construction, and military personnel. The appropriation name also tells you which service, Army, Air Force, Navy, or Marine Corps, that these funds are for. For example, Operations and Maintenance, N, or OMAN, says that this appropriation is for the Navy. Let's take a look at each major appropriation category. The Research, Development, Test, and Evaluation appropriation buys new capabilities for the Navy. From its title, you already have a pretty good idea of what the funds can buy. Some of the major efforts it funds are studies and analyses, scientific research and development, engineering and design models, prototypes, developing a brand new untested capability, development and operational test and evaluation, and R&D minor construction projects. The Navy's procurement appropriations buy capacity for the Navy. They fund the construction, procurement, and production of new hardware, such as an aircraft, a weapon, or a ship, as well as support equipment, tooling, trainers, and spare parts. And it funds hardware modifications. The Operations and Maintenance Appropriation, OMAN, funds readiness for the Navy. It's the appropriation most frequently used once an aircraft or weapon has been delivered to the fleet. It supports in-service and out-of-production systems. It's also the appropriation used by the fleet to fly and maintain the aircraft, and it funds NAVAIR's support to the fleet, such as engineering investigations, software maintenance, and the phased depot maintenance performed by NAVAIR's fleet readiness centers. OMAN also funds minor construction projects, and it funds NAVAIR headquarters operations, salaries, travel, and training. The Military Construction or MILCON appropriation funds the cost of new major construction projects, as well as major repairs of the facilities. This appropriation may be needed when NAVAIR introduces a new aircraft into the fleet and a squadron needs to have a new hangar built or one modified. The last appropriation we'll discuss is the Military Personnel Appropriation, or MILPERS. As indicated by its name, it funds military personnel. It also funds their allowances, clothing, temporary and permanent change of station expenses, the GI Bill, and hazardous duty pay. NAVAIR uses these funds to pay for the military personnel that work at headquarters. As you can see, the name of each appropriation provides a high-level description of the type of efforts each of the appropriations can fund. A key takeaway is to remember that appropriations must be spent for the purposes for which they were approved and appropriated by Congress. That means the proper fiscal law question to ask is, show me where I can, not show me where it says I can't. You must have affirmative authority. Each of the 5 major appropriations also have a time period called an appropriations life. When Congress appropriates funding for a particular fiscal year, the appropriation gets date stamped with that fiscal year. This starts an appropriations life. There are 3 phases: active, expired, and canceled. During the active or current phase, funds can be obligated. That means that they can be put on NAVAIR contracts or provided to the NAWCs, FRCs, or other organizations to do work. The active phase lasts 2 years for RDT&E funds, 3 years for procurement funds, and 1 year for OMAN funds. Next is the expired phase. During this time period, the appropriation is no longer available for new obligations. It can be used to pay bills and make adjustments to obligations that were incurred when the funds were in the active phase. The expired phase lasts 5 years for every appropriation. What's important to remember about the expired phase is that no new effort or obligations can use these funds. The next and final phase is when funds are canceled. At this point, the funds can no longer be used for any purpose. Using the correct appropriation is important, and deciding the correct one to use can sometimes be challenging. It's really important to get it right. Your Business Financial Manager, or BFM, is the touchpoint within NAVAIR who executes the funds. Reach out to your BFM if you need help. And thanks for watching.